Hey guys, and welcome back. My name's Kris. I'm an Aussie GP, and today's topic is, well, topical. I'm going to be talking about my experience with the COVID-19 vaccine and the current media, I suppose, attention on some of the more specific vaccines. So let's start with my story. At the time of recording, 23 days ago, I received my first COVID-19 injection. So the clinic I work at is part of the 1B rollout that is starting to provide patients or people in the community with the COVID-19 vaccine. There is a lot of guidelines as to who can and can't have the vaccine, and it is changing rather rapidly, but essentially it's for those who are eligible either due to age, due to profession, or due to medical background. I am a GP, so therefore I am eligible as part of 1B on this regard, and it's basically because general practitioners aren't considered to be frontline healthcare workers, despite the fact that I see potential COVID patients and I swab them and I treat them, but that's neither here nor there, and that's not what this video is about. The rollout itself has been a bit of a time, but again, that's not what the video is about. So 23 days ago, I got my injection. This was in the first week that we were providing the injections, and we received 400 doses in that first week. 400 sounds like a lot, but they went like that. So I got mine on a Friday afternoon after I'd finished work during one of our vaccine clinics, and I went home and I was like, right, I know I'm going to have side effects. The younger you are, the worse they are, apparently. So let's clean the house, let's cook, let's do everything. So I had a very busy Friday night. But I felt fine. I felt completely normal. So I was able to do all my stuff, went to bed at a normal time, and I woke up on Saturday. When I woke up on Saturday, I had a bit of a dull headache and I felt tired, but I didn't feel unwell. I felt like maybe I'd overdone it the night before. But essentially, I felt well enough to go out to like brunch with a friend, went for a walk, felt really, really good until 1 p.m. So this was 21 hours after I had my dose. And I also did live Instagram story this if you're interested, but essentially I started to feel a bit meh, and then I checked my temperature and it was 37.5. Within half an hour I'd hit 38.5 despite having Panadol. So I was mounting an immune response, which is not actually a bad thing. It was a good sign that my immune system had recognized this foreign entity and that I was starting to learn about it. So I wasn't mad about it, but I quickly deteriorated and I felt pretty, sorry for myself. I had fevers like I mentioned, but I also had the worst muscle aches. But the worst part is, my muscle aches were focused in my triceps. I don't work out my triceps very much. I work out, but I don't like focus. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do triceps day. I have no idea. Like in the week preceding, I hadn't done any extra arm stuff. Like it was bizarre. Lying on the couch, being like, my legs are sore or whatever, but man, I need an ice pack for my triceps, or a heat pack in this case. It was bizarre, and out of all my colleagues and friends who have had it, no one else had tricep aches. So, that's unique to me. Hooray. I also had a thumping headache. So I napped basically the rest of the day. I was in and out of consciousness, again napping. Didn't have too much of an appetite, but was still able to eat. Basically just, made a little nest for myself on the couch and watched TV and relaxed. That's pretty much it. I didn't need anything extra. I was alright. So I went to bed and I woke up 12 hours later and I felt okay. Still a bit of a mild headache, still felt a little bit achy, but I had no more fever, which was fantastic. My appetite was back. I felt okay. By, midday that day, I was back to normal. And I went for a walk that afternoon in the sunshine and I felt great. So my side effects, probably the worst of it lasted 12 hours. Maybe 24 until I felt 100%. But ultimately, from getting the vaccine to 48 hours later, I'd gone through the wave and I'd come out fine. Then I went to work on Monday. Normal. So the side effects varied a lot in my colleagues. So some of my older friends and colleagues had no side effects. They had it, they came to work the next day, felt fine. And some of us, I had pretty mild effects, and I had friends who had like full-on rigors where you're like shivering because you've got such a bad fever. people who were really like nauseous, vomiting, had diarrhea, the whole works. So there was a very wide spectrum of side effects, and I was really lucky that I was pretty relatively mild. Still sucked in the moment, but mild in the long term. And I'd much rather that than COVID-19. The current recommendation is to get a second dose a couple of weeks after your first dose, and I do intend to get my second dose. What I've heard is the second dose gives you less side effects than the first, so if that's the case, I'm going to be just fine. But I am aware I may get different side effects, or worse side effects, or the same side effects from the next dose, and I'm okay with that. So now for the really topical part. There's been a lot of news out there recently about one of the vaccines available in Australia, the Astrazeneca vaccine, and its relation to blood clots. Because of the evolving evidence, the guidelines have changed a lot. So 3 weeks ago, the recommendation is that anyone could have Pfizer and anyone could have AstraZeneca, depending on what you had available and depending on who was part of which rollout, blah, blah, blah. Now the guidelines are for anyone under 50, if possible, have Pfizer, not AstraZeneca, and that's because of these blood clots. So with AstraZeneca, there is a very, very rare but very real risk of getting a blood clot known as a central venous sinus thrombosis, or CVST. CVST can present as a really severe acute onset headache, not being able to see very well, feeling very unwell, and it typically poses a risk from the first 4 to 20 days after vaccine. These clots are scary, especially because they're often coupled with thrombocytopenia or a lack of platelets. So you've clotted too much, but the rest of your body can't clot anymore, which is terrifying as a patient and as a physician. At present, the evidence is that 4 to 5 in every million doses of AstraZeneca result in one of these CVSTs, and 1 in 4 who get a CVST will die from it. That's scary, isn't it? Does this mean that we butchered the vaccine? Does this mean that it came out too early? Does this mean that we did the wrong thing? Oh no, not necessarily. I think it's actually a good thing that we're stopping giving so much of the AstraZeneca to those who are at higher risk, such as those under 50, to truly examine the cause and the risk and the everything so that we can move forward. Remember, this is unprecedented. We have never had to make a vaccine so fast. And just a little side note, these vaccines, the mRNA vaccines, have been basically in development for years. Not for COVID, this is not because, COVID's a hoax or whatever, but because there are other viruses that are mRNA viruses like COVID-19. And we've been trying to develop a vaccine for these for years. It's only now that there has been a global pandemic that's threatened the economy and the population that we've really propelled this. Now, I'm not a virologist, an immunologist, or a vaccine developer. I do encourage you to do your own reading from credible sources to develop your own, point of view regarding the vaccines, but this is mine. What is often missed in these fearful headlines is the risk of getting this very same clot when you get COVID-19. There's a lot of equating these clots to clots such as those that you get on the contraceptive pill or when you are pregnant, and they're not the same thing. The clot that you get when you're on the pill, when you're pregnant, when you're in bed for too long distance travel, that sort of thing, is typically a deep vein thrombosis, which can lead to a pulmonary embolism or a clot in the lung. Very rarely these can also cause strokes and things, but this is general. Now, the difference is, 1, these are much easier to treat and they don't come with a side of thrombocytopenia, but also 2, the mortality rate is much lower. So it's really hard, and I do use this analogy with my patients. You've got a 1 in 10,000 risk of a clot from the pill, and it's 3 in a million of AstraZeneca. But I do it to give them an idea of how much risk we are usually willing to accept. It's the mortality that's different, and it's a completely different mechanism. That being said, there is actually a 10 times higher risk of getting the exact same clot with thrombocytopenia, so that is a CVST, when you have COVID-19. Not the vaccine, but COVID-19. So there's a 3 to 4 in 1 million chance with AstraZeneca, and there is a 30 to 40 in 1 million chance with COVID-19. And the death rate or mortality rate is almost exactly the same at 20 to 25%. if you couple that with the absolute real risks of the side effects of COVID-19, the lung issues, the muscle issues, the heart issues, the everything issues, that's when you start to realize the risk and benefit. Is it a good thing that we've got these side effects of CLOTS in the vaccine? Absolutely not. And my heart goes out to those. I mean, there was a woman's death in the news recently from it, and that's horrifying. So I'm not trying to belittle that, but I'm also really sick of the news articles and even the personal attacks I'm getting and my colleagues are getting, like, you're just pushing the vaccine, you must be paid for it, you don't care about the deaths. Like, obviously this is my emotions and not necessarily science coming through, but it's been a really hard year and we're now at the end of it. We can protect ourselves against COVID-19, but there has just been assault after assault after assault on our psyche, on our, I'm working much longer days and I'm not even in charge. Anyway, I'm digressing. Sorry, my camera died. I'm not sure where I got up to in that rant. But what I was saying is this is just evidence of the very real conversations we're having with our patients now. So, for example, for my under 50s, whilst the guidelines suggest waiting for Pfizer, in the town I'm in, we're not going to get Pfizer until November at the earliest, and we don't know how much Pfizer we're going to get. So for us, is it better then to have the discussion? Right, you've got a 3 in 1 million chance of getting a blood clot, a CVST from Astrazeneca. But for my under 50s who are frontline workers, work in hotels, work in quarantine situations, whatever, that then also have the risk of a COVID-19 infection, reducing their ability to work, their income, causing the negative side effects on their lungs, especially for my asthmatic patients, COPD patients, etc., etc., or for my cancer patients, for anyone with an immune deficiency, then is the 3 in 1 million risk greater or less than the 40 in 1 million risk plus the other side effects of COVID-19? I'm not saying everyone under 50, yeah, go ahead. This is definitely a personal choice and a decision that you should be having a good discussion with your doctor to make. For you, it may not be worth it, and that's fine. But for you, it may be very worth it, and that's fine too. So have that discussion and just please be kind to your doctors and your nurses and the reception staff and everyone involved in the vaccine rollouts. We're under immense pressures too. So yeah, that's basically my chat on my experience with the COVID vaccine. It sucked a little bit, but I'm okay. I will be getting my second dose. I accept that there is a risk, but for me personally, the risks of getting COVID-19 far outweigh the risk of me having an adverse effect on the vaccine. And I will be having this discussion daily with multiple patients. And that's just part of the job now, and I'm okay with it because I have to be. But basically, this is all education. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you an idea of what discussions you might have. But guys, please do stay safe. Stay as healthy as you can. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you want from me next. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.